Why is my boss toxic? It seems like everyone has a story about a terrible boss being shared through social media. There's plenty of movies and TV shows centered around bad, toxic bosses. Now, don't get me wrong, it's funny, but kind of sad at the same time. I mean, you don't see this with other professions in the same capacity. So why is this such a problem? Hi, my name is Ian. On my channel Grow Up, I share leadership insights along with office humor from my 15 years of leadership experience and 8 years of training leaders. In addition to sharing my experience, I honestly believe improving leadership is the solution to many of the world's problems. Think about it. Behind every problem, there is some leadership that is responsible and often has the ability to influence real change. From infusing empathy to building strategy, problem solving collectively, uncovering collaborative solutions. But to improve leadership, we need to first understand the problem. Einstein famously said, "If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution." So back to the original question. Why is my boss toxic? Why do we see so many terrible bosses? I recently dropped a video about bosses micromanaging. The conclusions I came to were they don't understand their role, they received little to no leadership training, and they were promoted for the wrong attributes. Or should I say, the reasons they were promoted sent the wrong message about what's important to their work as a leader. A viewer's comment was that micromanagers lack confidence. I completely agree, and I think this is a symptom of being clear on their role and not receiving training. If you haven't seen the video, please check it out. I'll leave a link to it above. So I like that video, but I want to build off the ideas, or should I say dig deeper. Not sure which direction, but I want to take the concept further into the problem with leadership. I'll be honest, I have more questions than answers. So let's examine the problem. I do want to say that a bad manager or toxic boss doesn't automatically equate to a bad person. There are plenty of really nice people who aren't good at management. For me, the strongest contributing factor to toxic bosses is how people become bosses, managers, and leaders. For most professions, people decide what they want to be and go to school for that, right? Biology, literature, history, marketing, engineering, programming, education, health sciences. Now, there are some degree paths that can help to prepare someone for leadership, like business administration, or even behavioral sciences and sociology. But most people that become bosses were promoted because they were good at the work that they were doing. Even external hires for managerial positions, because they have some experience, they simply gain that experience by being promoted to manager at their previous employer. Experience is excellent, but it's not the same as professional training. Imagine if nurses and doctors were simply promoted to these positions because they did good work at the hospital. Sounds strange and kind of scary, right? Now, I'm not saying managing people is the same as conducting surgery, but just as there are skills to surgery that were required and acquired through medical school, there are skills to being a better leader that have been discovered through substantial research in behavioral sciences. Whether it be a doctor or a manager, there are skills to acquire through knowledge being shared, not through experience. There is schooling and certification for professions from culinary arts to auto mechanic, education to take that person from amateur to professional. There are a multitude of professional leadership trainings and certifications out there, but that's often not required by an employer to move into a leadership position. So again, most of the time you do a good job, you get promoted, now you're a leader. Leadership training is on the employer, which many employers have few resources or time dedicated to developing leaders. That's not to say training and development information doesn't exist. Again, there's certifications, all kinds of information. It's just not packaged or promoted, and most important, not valued the way traditional degrees and certifications are. There's outstanding research and knowledge to develop excellent leadership, but it's often on the leader themselves to seek out this information and figure out how to implement this into their work. But what's the incentive to do that? Another consideration to toxic bosses and leadership skills are hard to measure and oftentimes not valued enough by the company to evaluate or measure. Or should I say, what is often measured is not aligned with what we attribute to a toxic boss or not a toxic boss. What's most often measured by the boss's boss is team performance, which is often simply looking at some productivity measurement. Essentially, they're evaluating on completion of tasks. A boss can excel in its performance area whether they are awesome or toxic. Are there areas one can measure if a boss is toxic? Maybe. Staff retention, customer feedback and satisfaction, or what about staff surveys? Sure, feedback from staff would be the best way to know if a boss is toxic, but staff need to feel completely safe to be candid about their experiences with their leaders. Next, you need an unbiased review of the feedback. I will say I've certainly witnessed times when it was clearly known that a boss was a problem, the feedback was met with skepticism, and nothing was done. In the end, what does the boss's boss truly value? Most often, it's simply getting stuff done and if the team is performing well. Again, what's the incentive for that toxic boss to become a better leader? This leads to our third contributing problem. Essentially, the problem with leadership is an ongoing cycle of promotion with no real leadership training. You have a supervisor with no leadership training who reports to a manager with no leadership training, who reports to a director with no leadership training, who reports to an executive director, who reports to a vice president, who reports to a president, who reports to a chief officer, all who were promoted up the ranks, potentially with little to no leadership training. That's not to say people at these different levels don't value leadership training and haven't acquired training along the way, but that most likely varies widely and is not a prerequisite to move up the corporate ladder. Most often, it's about getting stuff done. Even if at some higher level, a leadership concept is introduced, as the message trickles down, the importance, the potency, and purity diminishes. When some new leadership training happens, there's little support, follow-up, or incentive to implement, particularly at the levels of supervisor and manager who need this support the most. It's not that leaders are adverse to the new idea, it's that their workload is not altered to allow for time to learn and practice when they are consumed with putting out fires, constant performance issues, hiring and onboarding new staff, delivering feedback, performance managing out low performers. When do I have time for that thing about leveraging strengths, influencing behaviors, developing my motivational intelligence? The irony is that with leadership training, if fully embraced and properly implemented, would improve customer and staff experience, reduce turnover, mitigate performance issues, freeing up time to focus on the development of the leader and the staff. This is again why I feel that improving leadership can greatly improve our world. If you're a leader, working to become a leader, or supporting a group of leaders, please connect with me. I would love to unpack your problems and pain points as a leader and work together to discover solutions. And again, you got this.